Hello, welcome to another video in my Age of Mythology Learn to Trigger Intermediate series. If you play the game, you'll know that our units have multiple different animations. You can see a select few of them here. But how do we command our units to do these animations? How do we check if they're doing a certain animation? We'll find out and more during this video as we look at animations, animation commands, and the animation path. So if we look in the commands viewer, I've got it here just printed out in raw text, you'll find that we've got two triggers to take our interest. So the first is unit override animation. You'll see we can specify a type of animation that we want, and the list of all of those is here. We've got a variation which only applies if there's multiple different animations of the same type, such as units that have a cinematic animation. We can loop it, we can free the unit on death, we can link to a fire event, and don't know what that one actually does. So you'll see that we put in a number there and we'll get a result. The other one of similar is get animation type, which returns an integer corresponding to the ID that the animation block is currently performing. Now you'll see, unfortunately, these numbers are a little bit different. So if I just copy the birth number, for example, and go up, you'll see we've got different numbers here. So if we're overriding an animation, we use a different set of numbers. If we're getting an animation, we use a different set of numbers as well. Let me show you how this works and what all these components are in the Age of Mythology map. So in order to do this, I made my own trigger to apply this command, and I've got various balls so I can customize all the features, and the code for that is available here. So I just copied over all the parameters I want to modify and put that in percentage brackets so I can control what comes out the other side. So in the editor I've got a setup like this. So on my trigger I'm going to use my new effect which I've written to override the animations. So I've got a table behavior set up. I'm going to set everything to do the cinematic animation. That's animation ID 25. I'm going to have looping off and free on death off for that one. For this one I'm going to have looping on, free on death off. For this one I'm going to have looping off, free of death on. And for this one I'm having both on. So we can see the behavior of this relative to the flags, and that tells us a little bit what's going on. So you see, after one cycle, if looping is off, our units are not performing that animation anymore. So what's the difference between the free on death effect? Well, if we get our units to move, that's going to then become apparent. So on this one, free on death is off, our unit is continuing to perform the animation. However, when it is true, our unit breaks the animation cycle and animates as normal. This is true no matter the animation the unit's doing. It doesn't have to be death as the name says, although it can be. So if I delete that unit, it's not going to have the death animation, it's just going to die in that position, whereas everyone else will die and default to the normal default animation. So I hope that explains the properties that the animation trigger have. I'm now going to show you about tracking the animation and some effects we can do with this one. So now I'm going to track the animation of this unit here and see what happens as the unit changes its animation as we get it to move around the map. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to clear the chat history and then send a new chat that's going to contain the ID of that. How do we do that? So we break out of the string, we paste our code, and then we go back into the string. So looking at the command viewer, this takes an integer of unit ID. This object was the first one I placed, so unit ID 0. We can test this and see the results. So you see I'm idle, I've got 9. Start moving, it's gone to 11. If I attack move, it goes to 10, and then once I attack, we'll get our special effect, and then if that unit survived, we'd be able to do the normal attack. So how are we going to use this? So if we copy the same code again, we could have an effect where if Arcantos does his special attack, then we grant a lightning bolt. In order for this to happen, we need an excess user condition, and that would be this equaling 65, and that's the special animation for the special attack that we just saw. And if that happens, let's grant a Eclipse God Power, just because we've already got Bolt. So moving through this, finding our enemy, getting ready to attack, nothing's happening, and now attacking, we have our Eclipse God Power. So this is how you can get the ID effect of units, and you can use it to make custom special attacks. Now we are here in the animation viewer. This is another scenario created by Notted, and it allows you to select any unit in the game by changing the units by clicking on the trolls and changing the animation by clicking on the Valkyries. So you can see the animation is changing there. So what I want to go through next is I want to find a building. So let's go with the columns, and we get the number by looking here, 112, and then we subtract to find the columns. This is explained in the map. I want to look at these things down here. These set the animation path. So the animation isn't changing, the path is, and you'll see that this can represent the various different styles of columns that you have available in the game. This also works on units as well. So if we look for my unit 753 and go up to 753, you find that if we set the animation path here, we get different effects. So in this one, the hero glow disappears, so we're sort of detaching a unit. In this one, the staff disappears, so you could actually end up with a funny looking unit there. So we're sort of detaching and reattaching particles, and the animations are of course separate to this. This also works for other SFX units. For example, if we look at the Vortex finish link on 321, you see we're very much used to that. This sort of lets us split it into component parts with the animation path. So there I've got rid of the sparkly bit, there I've got rid of the main beam, there I've brought back the sparkly bit, and bringing back the beam. This map is definitely worth checking out. You can get a whole new dimension of crazy effects by detaching using the animation path. It's another command, and you should be able to make a trigger for this yourself fairly easily. This scenario is of course included in the associated files. Have a look and have a fun. So that's animations and animation path. I'll see you again in the next video.